Good day. Welcome to this lecture series in Godot.
Hello, good day. Welcome back. We are working on Godot. So in a previous video, I showed you how to download and extract Godot. I say extract because it didn't really install it, so just it has a file you will download, and after extract the file, you just have to open the exe file, and that will take you to Godot. So Godot, when you open up the Godot, we have different, well, this is the viewport here. This main window is the viewport, and we are in a 2D workspace. So Godot has more than one workspace. There's a 2D workspace. That's this one right here. If you click here, this is a 3D workspace. You can see this is the Z, the X axis, and the Y axis. And there's also a scripted workspace. Here is where you can write, like, let's say, code and so forth. So I'll just go back to here, the 2D workspace. And if you see here, you can actually change the scenes from 2D to 3D right here. So that's very good. I also want to mention that you can use the shortcuts to move between the workspaces. So you can press Control F1 for the 2D workspace. We are in the 2D workspace. Then press Control F2 and go to the 3D workspace. All right, so you see we go to the 3D workspace, and then you can press Control F3 and go to the scripting workspace. So you know this is working. So that's very good. So in this 2D workspace here, you can use your scroll button, and if you scroll down, you can zoom out. If you scroll in, you can zoom in. You could hold the middle mouse button, so the scroll button, and move around the screen. So you realize the similarities between different game engines, because in Unreal Engine, you can right click and move around the screen. You can do something almost similar with 3Develop. So there's a lot of similarities between game engines. Once you can go here to the asset store, this is like an asset library where you can download different assets. So this is show the assets that is currently downloaded, but we don't have them downloaded right now. But that will be explored at another lecture series. We're not focusing on that right now. So we have across here, this is a scene tab. The scene tabs is, well, in Godot, we're going to work a lot with scenes and nodes. So a node, everything we do in Godot is really going to be really nodes. And a scene is really like, let's say, a collection of nodes. Godot has many different types of nodes, and of course, every node will have their own unique functionality. So for instance, there will be a node called a sprite 2D. And this could be like, let's say, a 2D image on your screen. So our character will be a sprite 2D. So when we're moving the character back and forth, that will be a node and it will be a sprite. There's a node called animation player, which is used to create animations and animate different things. There's a node called rigid body, which is used for like physics. So there will be many different types of nodes that you will encounter. And this is very similar to GDevelop. So essentially what you have in Godot, you will have nodes. Each node will do a different thing. And there will be scenes. The scenes is really a collection of nodes. And your game is really a collection of scenes, a bunch of scenes grouped together, and that's essentially a game. So that's it right there. So if you look here right now, this map's empty because there's no scenes inside of this. There's nothing else inside of this. So Godot is giving us some shortcuts to create some scenes. So we have a 2D scene, a 3D scene, and so forth. So let's click here, 2D scene. And when we click 2D scene, it will give us a node 2D to add to this scene right here. So this node here will be like, let's say the root node, and all other nodes will be a child of the root node. So this is it here, node 2D. So this is the root node right about now. So let's rename this node. So you could right click and rename, or you could double click and rename it. So I'll just rename this my level. So of course you can give it whatever name you want. So this node has no functionality. All it has is really is a 2D position. Now we have this node here. We have it here. If we want to change a property of a node, we have to go across here to the inspector tab. So if you click on this node and go across here, you can see different properties of this node. However, if you click the screen here, you have nothing selected, so we don't have this node selected. We see nothing in the inspector panel across right across here. So this is just, it works. So this is very similar to how the other game engines work. So when you select something in the Unreal, there will be a details panel and you can see different properties. So in Godot, you can select a node, you can see in the inspector panel, you can see the different properties of that node. So let's click here, transform, and we see regarding a node is the position, well, the location, which is equal to the position, the rotation, and scale. The position is where it's located. Now, this is 2D, so the only positions, the only parameters that will be of interest will be the x-axis and the y-axis. There's the rotation, how it's rotated, and the scale will be the size. Of course, we also have a skew. So let's look at the x, right? So let's put this at 100. You see, it moved from about here to here. I want to also mention, anytime you make a change in any parameter here, you will see this small white arrow appearing right here. That's where you can reset back to the default position. And in this case, it will be this original position right about here. You can also select the node and can move it. And you see when you move around the node, the x position value is changing as well as the y position values. So because it's moving on the x-axis and the y-axis. So let's add some more nodes. So to do that, if you realize here, we no longer see any shortcuts, but that's not a problem. You can just click this plus button here. And when you click the plus button there, Windows appears here, and there's a wide range of number of different nodes you can add. These are all the different nodes. We want to look for sprite. We want to look for sprite 2D. So we select this and then click create. And we can see the sprite will be a child of the my level. So the sprite 2D is really a 2D node. See, node 2D. So the sprite 2D is a node 2D with some additional properties. Then we realize that when you have the sprite 2D selected here, it has all the components of the node 2D. So it has the transform, visibility, all these other things here, but it has some additional components. It has a texture, a portrait, an animation, and a region. So like I said, the sprite 2D is really the node 2D with some additional characteristics and features. So what a sprite 2D really does is show a 2D image. But I mean, right about now, it's not really showing any 2D image because I mean, we need to do something here to the texture. We need to add a texture, obviously. The texture will be the image. So before we do anything here, let's look at the file system. So this is the file system here. This shows like, let's say, what folders or what files you have. So we have, this is the root folder here, res, this is root folder of your project. We have here the icon. By default, when you create a Godot project, you will always get the Godot icon. So note we have the sprite to be selected here, right? But we have no image face. You see here it's empty, right? So what we'll do, let's just put an image. So you can take this image, you can drag this here, and put it in here. And here now the sprite 2D now has an image, and the image will be the Godot icon, and we can move it around. So I mean, yeah, that's just a simple way. So we can see here how we can populate these sprites with an image. That will be the texture. So the next thing we want to do is save, because before we can play, you'll need to save. So let's go to and save. So go to this area here, seed, and let's save scene. You can click save scene as, but right now just click save scene to have the save effect, because this will be the first that you'll be saving. And when you're saving, the scenes will be called, they will have the extensions TSCN. We could give this a special name, but I am not giving this any special name because this is already my level. So I'll just save this. Save. So note that as after you have saved the scene, this has now changed to my level. This is now the name of the scene. So we can do this. We can close on this. This is empty. We can go here, can double click this now, and can open up here. So we see now, we can now open back the scene right here. So that's just a quick note. So if you want to run the game, you can go to here, run current scene, or you can just press F6. This window will appear. And I mean, this will not do anything because all we just did is create a sprite 2D and just put an image in it. So I mean, but we know the game is working, it's running. So apart from this one here, where you can run the current scene, you can run this one here. This is to run the main scene. So we can press this here, and Godot will tell us that here happening. You do not have a main scene selected. What to do? Well, we will select current. Remember, this is really for a game. So think of it like you press play, you start the game, which is default scene, which is default map will play. And this could be like, let's say, a main menu. If it's a complete game, the default scene that will play will be your main menu scene, your map, assign your main menu map, wherever when you start game, that's the first thing the player will see. So this is essentially what this button is telling Godot to do. And if you click this current scene, this allows you to choose the current stage to play. So just close off this for now. Now, if you want to change the main scene, what you need to do is go to project settings. So project settings, and in general here, you go to application and go to run. And this is the main scene. The main scene right now is my level. We only have one scene, so that scene will be the main scene. So this will bring us to a point where I can give you a challenge. So here what to do. Create a scene, create a sprite 2D, add a sprite 2D, add an empty sprite 2D, and give your scene a name. Do that and come back. So we are back here, and I actually created a new sprite, a new node 2D, a new scene. I call this level 2, CLB type node 2D. I created a sprite, and sprite was sprite 2D. Now there's more one way to do this. You can click here and you can add in node 2D to add the scene, and you can add the sprite to add the sprite here. But we already have a sprite and we already have the level, so for the scene. So what you can do, you can select it, press Ctrl D, and when you press Ctrl D, we duplicate everything. So we know it's level 3, and we automatically duplicate the sprite. And so we can see everything here. But if we don't want to see everything, we can minimize this. Well, turn off the eyes, turn off the eyes, turn off the eyes. So turn off the eyes here, and tick off this one here. And now we can no longer see the sprite. And click this here to see this. So this is just something you took a note. You can just easily duplicate anything by just selecting and press Control D. This control works the same way in Unreal Engine. So, I mean, this is just the basics. We really get into the difficult part of this here. So, we are covering the basics and did a lot of work. So I'll end this video right here. Thank you.